Ben, for your Texas Rangers today, it was one of those, as the graphic said, so close, and yet somehow at this moment feels so far. John Radigan here. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. The Prophet is with us today, and he's taking care of all things that are putting us live on the air, talking to you about a disappointing loss, right? There have been really some disgusting losses this year. There have been some troubling losses this year. This one I'd have to characterize as disappointing. It was a game that the Rangers should have really had a bigger lead in. But then once you get the momentum of a Corey Seager 2-run bomb in the 10th inning, you just need to ride that wave. You need to get that run in. They had a runner at third base in that 11th inning with only one out after a really nice sacrifice by Jonah Heim, and they couldn't get that run in. That is where this game was lost. You can start to talk about, some of the things that Cole Winn did. You can talk about some of the things that Luke Jackson did or didn't do, but the reality is the Rangers needed to get that run in the 11th inning. Had they done that, they would have won this game. There were plenty of other opportunities earlier in the game to take advantage of Seattle pitching that was even more disabled, hamstrung than what the Rangers pitching situation was. 3 straight extra inning games for this team, 3 in a row. That is the first time that's happened since 2012 for the Rangers, way back in September of 12. And that was against 2 different teams, but it was 3 games in a row. You got to go all the way back to 2002 when Alex Rodriguez was on the team, for God's sake, to find a series where the Rangers played all games in a series against in extra innings. That, too, was against the Mariners way back in September of 2002. So this is rare. At least for the Rangers, it's rare. The Mariners have already had one stint this season where they have played 3 straight extra inning games. That was earlier this year. The Mariners played their 13th today, believe that or not, and they are 6-7 in those 13 extra inning games. So they don't have a winning record. The Rangers still do, but it just doesn't feel like it today, does it? Some very, very bright spots in this game, no doubt about that. One of them being the performance by Jack Leiter. After a couple of games in a row from Jack Leiter, maybe 3, where it appeared he had kind of taken a dive a little bit after starting the season so strong. He even came back off the injured list pretty strong. And then he wasn't quite as strong, right? Things were fading. Maybe the league was figuring him out. We weren't exactly sure. He said it himself after the last outing. He said, I'm doing a good job getting 2 strikes on people, but I am not putting them away. I've got to, that's the step. I got to take that step. Today, Jack Leiter had a career-high 7 strikeouts. He figured that out. He had a couple on the fastball. He had 1 on the slider, a couple on the changeup, that kick change that he has. So I really like the fact that he jumped that hurdle, if you will, right, of not being able to have that put-out pitch, not being able to get that guy out, even though he had 2 strikes on him. And so Jack Leiter is absolutely the bright spot of this game. 6 innings pitched for Jack today. He had 7 hits, 1 run. It was an earned run and no walks, with those 7 strikeouts. So a fantastic outing by Jack Leiter, who no doubt has to feel good. And he followed on the heels of a similarly fantastic outing by his Vanderbilt buddy, and that was Kumar Rocker yesterday. So the reality is, to see the youth doing as well as they're doing might be the brightest thing, the best thing to take from this season. It's hard to imagine that this team that still can't get to 500. They're 2 games under now after the loss. It's hard to imagine that they're going to completely turn it around. I'm not saying that it's not possible. It is possible, but it just seems like maybe there's a feeling about this team that will disallow that from happening. And if it doesn't turn it around, the main thing we're looking at this year is the development of these young players. So, yes, Kumar Rocker having a great outing yesterday is fantastic. Yes, Jack Leiter having a great outing today is fantastic. Yes, Evan Carter with his day today. Evan had a double, a single, and then ground out. So he was 3 for 4 officially. They walked him intentionally in the 11th inning. But Evan Carter had an absolutely great day today. Of course, the other young budding superstar, Wyatt Langford, on the injured list with an oblique. But to get that kind of performance, that kind of production from some of these young players, it's still up and down for one of the other young guys, in Alejandro Osuna. He had some really good plays. He had some really good moments. I know I liked the single that he had in the 9th inning, and he stole a base, right? So there were 2 outs, and he was trying to, get into position and do whatever he could to give the Rangers a chance to walk that off in the 9th inning. They didn't. They couldn't. That's unfortunate, but Alejandro Osuna did his job. Now, and he did his job with a great throw to home plate earlier, but the second time the throw was way offline. And so these are all sort of learning moments for Alejandro Osuna. So I really think that's another bright spot for this game is him, and basically all of the guys, all of the young guys who continue to develop. We'll hope that their development will continue to coincide with an uptick, no matter what today's game says, or however it makes you feel. The Rangers are clearly headed in a better direction than they were 3 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago. They're headed in a better direction right now. And part of the reason for that is Corey Seager. Corey Seager is 100% back. Home runs in back-to-back games for Corey Seager. And that home run in the 10th inning was just fantastic. It's 3-0, and he's not sure what to do with this 3-0 pitch is going to be grooved or where it's going to be, and it wasn't. He spotted it fairly well, but then decided to try and challenge him again. Shame on you. Shame on you, Vargas, because Corey Seager made him pay, hit that thing out to left center field, and again, it's the most disappointing thing for me about this game. That is the kind of moment to me that really it needs. If a team has it, to me, the teams I've covered, if they have it, that moment propels them and inspires it, whatever it is, out of them, right? They would have figured out a way to get that run home in the 11th, figured out a way to walk it off. There was also a great play by Josh Young in that top of the 11th inning to keep the Mariners from scoring in that inning. I mean, they did a nice job executing the bunt in that inning, and they got the runner, the zombie runner, Ben Williamson, over to third base after a pretty good bunt by J.P. Crawford. But then Julio Rodriguez hits one that easily could have bounced over the head of everybody. And Josh Young leaps, grabs it, holds the runner at third, gets the out at first base. Ultimately, the Mariners don't score anything in that 11th inning. That is exactly why the Rangers so desperately needed to take advantage of a similar situation. And look, I'm not saying it's easy, but the Mariners weren't even really required to make that kind of a play in the 11th to keep the Rangers from scoring. So that's the disappointing part about this one. As I said, there's things to like, but losing 2 out of 3 to this Seattle Mariners team, first time you've seen anybody from the division in a while, that's also very disappointing. It's somewhat troubling, and it's something that the Rangers know that they can't have back. They've only have, I think, 4 games. They have 4 games left with Seattle. They've only won 2 of the first 9. Okay, they're 2-7 against this Seattle team, and again, it's a team that clearly they will be, if they get back into this thing, the Mariners are going to be one of the teams that they're battling either for a wild card position or probably not the division. Once again, it looks like the dang Astros are flexing their muscles. They've got the second best record in the American League all of a sudden. Don't look now, but it's the third best record in all of baseball as they flirt with the 50 win mark at this point in the season. So somehow, some way, they let guys go. Whatever they do, they still keep figuring out a way to do it. The Rangers could not figure out a way to get it done today, but the career high 7 strikeouts from Jack Leiter, fantastic. You had to love the performance. Cole Winn did a great job, even though they ended up losing the game, but Jacob Latz was the one who I was going to say he came in there and gave you 2 1/3. I think he was ill yesterday, and I think he just ran out of gas after his 2 1/3. But Jacob Latz did, went in, and I heard Bruce Bochy say before the game too. Luke Jackson, oh yeah, Luke always wants the ball. Luke always wants the ball, and he's a trooper, and somebody has to pitch in those situations. Both teams almost completely out of pitchers. The Mariners started with a bit more of a deficit in the bullpen area than the Rangers did, but somebody had to pitch, and in that case, Luke Jackson was the guy that they selected to do it. So it's a game that slipped away. The Rangers just didn't take advantage of Castillo early. There were times in the 4th and 5th and 6th innings the Rangers had, runners on base, every inning. They had a couple of runners on in the 3rd. They had the leadoff man on. Evan Carter led off the 4th inning with the single and then got erased by a double play, an around the horn type double play. Castillo's so wild in the 5th. He walks Josh Smith and Corey Seager. There's 2 on with only 1 out, and they can't get him home as Marcus Semien and Adolis Garcia fly out and pop out respectively. They had a runner on with 1 out as after an Evan Carter single in the 6th inning. He stole a base, still 1 out. They've got a runner in scoring position, and they can't get him home. Josh Young strikes out. Alejandro Osuna lines out to center field. So those are the opportunities too, right? Those are the things you go back and look at and know if the Rangers had been able to get those things done at that time, we wouldn't have been talking about 3 extra inning games. At that point, Jack Leiter still had a shutout. So anyway, this is one of those that got away. The Rangers know that the Baltimore Orioles are next. They just saw them 3 games ago, so we'll see how that one goes. The good news there is you get DeGrom and Eovaldi on the mound against these Baltimore Orioles, who have been somewhat offensively challenged themselves. So we'll preview that series coming up. There's lots to talk about in the game of baseball coming up as well. And, of course, Jeff will join us here momentarily as he will let us know what the feeling is down in the clubhouse. He'll take the pulse of how these guys are feeling after 3 straight extra inning games. And unfortunately, 2 of the 3 were losses. So we've got all that coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. John Radigan here. Jeff Wilson joins in just a moment as we continue on the DLLS Rangers podcast. And we continue with our friends from Monarch Money. Oh, what a great concept this is, right? I remember when the first of the online money managers came out, and I was on board, but I've never seen one that's quite as complete as Monarch Money. They want you to not only track how you are spending your money, which will shock you and appall you at times if you're not keeping close track. But this is more than just a tracking app, right? What Monarch Money wants to do, what they strive to do, what they will do if you allow them, is they will help you grow your wealth. They will help you not only track it, but save it, find it, put it in the right places, and ultimately you're making money thanks to the great work of Monarch Money. So we encourage you to go to monarchmoney.com and use the code DLLS. You get the first 6 months, half a year, completely free as they help you learn and navigate through the process of tracking and building your wealth. Also, LinkedIn Jobs is the place to go if you need to hire anybody at all. They have this vast network of all the people out there in the world. I swear, millions and millions of them, and so many of them are looking for jobs, right? That's why they're on LinkedIn. Well, LinkedIn Jobs can, you use them, they'll help you find exactly the right person for that job. So post your job for free at linkedinjobs.com/Rangers. linkedinjobs.com/Rangers. Okay, so it was a 6-4 final, 6 runs, 13 hits, and no errors for the Seattle Mariners. 4 runs, 9 hits, and no errors for the Texas Rangers. You see Jeff Wilson joining us now live. Jeff, I said before you came on, there have been, frustrating losses. There have been, terrible losses. There have been angry losses. This one feels disappointing, right? Like Corey Seager gave you all that joy, that happiness, that hope, that momentum, and you let it fizzle.
Well, and Cole Winn did a hell of a job there in the 11th. He was going against the top of the Mariners order, and he got out of that without any runs. You're thinking, all right, here, no problem at all. And then the 11th, should you've bunted Jonah Heim? I don't know. That's hindsight 2020. That's kind of an analytics thing because Adolis is probably going to score from second on a hit there. But he bunts. Great bunt, by the way.
It was a good bunt. Yeah, it really was.
Who knew Jonah Heim could bunt? So anyway, runner at third. They're going to walk Carter. They're going to walk Carter if Adolis is at second with 1 out. They're not facing Carter. They want to face Young. And then just this series from hell for Josh Young. It was the other night he had a similar opportunity. All you got to do is put the ball in play.
Yeah.
A slow roller probably gets the job done. Adolis is fast. He was getting a good lead. I'm guessing a slow roller and the Rangers win the ball game. A fly ball to medium left field or any of the outfield spots, Rangers win the game. And he doesn't make contact. Just these giant swings that he seems to always take. Like no thought of shortening his swing. Just trying to put the ball in play. You saw Marcus Semien. You saw the blueprint yesterday. What Marcus Semien did on that pitch from Munoz, 100 miles per hour off the plate, and Marcus Semien just kind of stabbed it.
Yep.
And it went through. That's all I had to do. Patrick Bailey did the same thing to the Rangers in a game earlier this year at San Francisco. You didn't have to get it to the grass. You just had to get it past the infield that was drawn in. And Josh wasn't able to do that. 12th inning. All right, 12th inning. Cole Wynn's back out there. First and third, infield in. Ball to Josh Young. And he can't make the play at the plate.
Right. He's got him at home if he throws it. I mean, if
he absolutely does.
If he can grab the ball out of his glove, he's got him at home.
Yeah. And so anyway, run scores. And then you have to deal with what happens with Mitch Garver. And maybe that happened. Maybe it's maybe it's still happens. Maybe he does get pitched differently though. I'm not sure. But I would have liked to have seen it. And Josh had a couple bobbles this series. I know he made the error today, but he had a bobble Friday night. Maybe it was last night on a potential double play ball, and he didn't get out of his glove in time. Hell, it might have been today. These are all running together. Yeah. So many. He's just in a bad way. Josh Young, and I don't know how you get it out. He was not at his locker. He had checked out before the media got in there, so he didn't answer to the questions. I asked Corey Seager about it, and Corey, who has been through slumps before, said, I think he's fine mentally. He doesn't seem to be showing anything outwardly, at least, and then you just keep going. Well, I don't know what you're going to do here. He's already had one kind of mental break. What would be next? What is the next thing? I saw Rarities ask, does Bochy not regret pinch hitting for Higashioka in extra innings? I asked about that, and it sounds like no, he didn't. Higashioka was in the game because he had good numbers against Luis Castillo. And then, it's also, it's kind of hard to pinch hit when you've got both catchers in the lineup as well.
Yeah, but the one thing I was thinking about, so Higashioka was the zombie runner twice. And I'm thinking, even if you don't pinch hit for him, you got to pinch run for him, don't you?
Well, they were down. If they were down.
Did we lose Jeff? Looks like we may have lost him. We may have to switch to the phone, and we'll get him back here momentarily. You back, Jeff?
I'm on the 10th as you, because he goes out there. But I think if it had been a one-run game, he gets pinch hit for.
Yeah.
Or pinch run. There's a runner in there for him.
Yeah.
But it wasn't that the case, and Seager hit the home run, and everything went great.
Yeah.
For that inning.
Right, and that's the thing too, and that is where that 11th when they did. I mean, they executed it after, like you said, and I mentioned it before you came on. After Cole Winn came in and held them scoreless, the Mariners scoreless in the 11th. After they pretty much executed it to perfection, right?
Yeah.
The plan is get the first guy up, bunt the guy over to third, and then get him home, right? You've got the winning runner, in that case, the lead run at third base with only one out, right? Just get him home. Well, they did that. They executed that. Cole Winn shut him down, right?
Yeah.
And the Rangers execute the same thing, and it's just like that's where that thing needed to be won. They just needed to ride a little momentum. And like you say, I mean, you went through the Josh Young at bat. Mike Bassick was saying on the broadcast, because they were speculating on the broadcast, Jeff, would they maybe walk both of them? Would they maybe walk Evan Carter and Josh Young to get to Osuna? And then when they didn't walk Josh Young, Mike was saying, "Oh my gosh, they think they can strike him out. They're not even playing double play death. They think they can." And not only did they think they could, they did,
Yeah. And Osuna had a hell of a game. He hit he'd done fine. He'd acquitted himself nicely today. He'd had some really good at bats, some hard contact. So I don't know that they would have wanted to face him with one out and the bases loaded, because he had done okay today. Man, that Young situation, it's it's uncomfortable.
Well,
Okay.
and to your point about the whole series, wasn't it Friday he made the last out in the inning 5 times?
Yeah, I mean
You know?
he's, you know, all right. Let's go to Wednesday or whatever, the Thursday, the last day in Baltimore. He homers, he drives in a run, and he homers. Right, he's part of the reason they won that game. I mean, you know, Jacob deGrom was the main reason. So
Right.
then he has the bad game Thursday. You're like, all right, they got in late. You know, maybe he didn't sleep worth a darn, but he had just swung the bat really, really well the night before. You know, and so all right, so Friday, you know, I don't want to say he gets a pass, but it's not like he had just been sucky the whole time. He had basically helped to win you the game the night before. But it, you know, I think it, and this is kind of where the defense comes in. You know, you try to separate yourself from the your offense can't carry over into the field. I wonder if that's the case here, just because he's making mistakes that he doesn't ordinarily make.
Yeah.
Defensively.
In fairness, he did have that great play in the 11th where he leapt
Yeah.
and held the runner, held Crawford at third, and then got the runner at first. But to your point, it was today where he, mishandled what would have been a double play. That's not going to go down as an error. But
Right.
It was when Luke Raley, Arozarena hit one to him, and was a tailor-made. Because Raley was on first. It was a tailor-made around the horn double play, and they only got Raley at second, and Arozarena beat out the relay. So same thing. Couldn't get a grip on the ball.
Yeah. It just, you got to separate the two, and maybe he's not. Maybe he's having maybe he does need a stint in the minors. I don't know. But this isn't the player they thought they were getting, and it needs to be better. And you can figure out third base. You have Josh Smith if he's feeling like he can play third. Mobility wise with the leg situation. You have Ezekiel Duran. I guess this Hellman can probably play third. I don't know. And then if you want to go get a player, you can go get Cody Freeman, who's been fantastic at AAA. So there are options down there. I just don't know if I don't know. It seems like he's kind of an emotional player. What would how would that go over? Well, it might be a relief. You've had situations like this before where guys have struggled, and it's like, man, how would he handle getting demoted? And sometimes it's a relief. Maybe they're looking over their shoulders. I don't know, but maybe I don't know if you want to get like, hey, let's give him the Baltimore series off, because it's followed by an off day. They tried the mental break before, and coming out of it, he said he didn't want it. He wished he would have been able to work on what he was doing in the cages in the game. It didn't seem like he was really sold on the idea. So I'm not sure what happens with him. I know Bruce Bochy sticks by his guys as much as he can. You've seen that with Marcus Semien, who didn't sit at all while hitting below 200 for a really good chunk of May. And he came out of it. Different players. Marcus Semien has far more experience than Josh Young. Josh Young's still a young player. I know he's been around this team forever, it seems like. But if you look at his total at bats, he's just over 1,000 career at bats in the major leagues. That's not a lot.
No.
That's basically 2 full seasons that he's coming up on, and maybe it would do him some good. I'm not sure how they're going to play it, but Josh Young needs to be better. And right now, it's as this lineup tries to rally and get better. Once again, they have a guy who's keeps finding himself in the middle of these big situations, and it's not doing the team any good.
No, and if you're making the point about Semien, the one thing we always commented on with regard to Marcus Semien when he was struggling at the plate is he never missed a beat on defense, right? we don't know for a fact that Josh's problems out in the field have been related to the problems at the plate, but we know that didn't happen when Marcus Semien was having his struggles. So all things that obviously Bruce Bochy knows and will consider and will certainly handle, because he handles all these things with great aplomb. And so we'll be watching exactly what happens there. We've got more coming up as we continue to wrap this one up. We start to get you ready for this Baltimore series. Seems like we just played them, doesn't it? And there's a lot happening in baseball, too. It's all coming up. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. So I officially retired another pair of my other brands of sunglasses today. The little nose pad things had fallen off, Jeff, and they were killing my nose.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to get that equivalent, the equivalent of that pair in Shady Rays. So I think I'm going back to the website, guys. I've got 2 pair. One was free. I bought the other, and I'm about to have 3. So I'm a bit of a sunglass junkie. I admit it. But that's why I'm glad I found Shady Rays. They're not that expensive. They're damn near indestructible. If you lose them, they'll replace them. If you break them, they'll fix them. So I can't imagine why you'd want to go anyplace else to get your sunglasses than ShadyRays.com. If you do that and use the code DLLS, you get 35% off these stylish, fantastic, almost indestructible sunglasses at Shady Rays.
You know, John, and Die Hard, you have probably heard this already, but DLLS Sports is going to Las Vegas with true fan travel for the ultimate fan experience. The Cowboys are playing at Las Vegas, playing the Raiders November 17th. We're going to get there the 15th, by God. We're going to make a weekend of it and have a great time. This trip includes a 3-night stay at the Mandalay Bay, where they had the winter meetings not that long ago. So I've stayed there. Nice place, nice huge casino, good restaurants in there. Game tickets, VIP parties, exclusive events with the DLLS crew, and fellow diehards. You probably want to spend time with Clarence. The guy is a riot. He's a laugh a minute, and he's old and he'll do some crazy stuff. So anyway, this is how DLLS does Las Vegas. Book now at truefantravel.com.
Yeah, just follow Clarence around, I think, would be the idea here, because you'll never know what you see. And
Yeah.
by the way, expect this. He doesn't sleep much, Clarence, so just know that, right? Especially not in Vegas. So what was, I didn't ask you this yet, Jeff, but what was sort of Boch's overall tenor of, not only the disappointment of this game, but you did lose 2 out of 3 to a division foe here.
Yeah. They wanted to win today. There's no question about it. They wanted to win this series. They recognize where they are. But I mean, my takeaway is, these teams are pretty even.
Yeah, I agree.
I just think that, and then we've said it all year. If this Rangers offense gets it together, the Rangers are a better team.
Yep.
All right. I really firmly believe that. I mean, Raleigh's a hell of a player. But the Rangers really did a good job kind of taking him out of the series.
Yeah.
The center fielder Rodriguez had a really good series. But aside from that, it's like, man, I don't know who is gonna beat you offensively. The pitching's very good. Those relievers they kept bringing in throughout the entire series were just very, very good. So, the pitching's there. I do think they're even. I mean, obviously the standings say something a little bit differently, but it just feels like there's not a huge separation here. And if that's the case, I don't know if there's a huge separation in the division. I know the Astros seem to be pulling away, but their lack of pitching is going to catch up with them. So there's just opportunities here. So I don't think the Rangers feel like they've blown this massive opportunity, and they might as well just pack it in for the last half of the season here. and it was interesting when we talked to Chris Young on Friday. He was asked, "Is there a number? This stretch when the Rangers play the Mariners and then they play the Angels and the Astros all before the All-Star break. Is there a number? Do the Rangers have to go a certain record? Do they have to be a certain amount of games back?" And Chris Young said, as long as the team is playing with effort and playing well, that's what he's looking for. All right. So for 3 games, he's got what he's looking for. No, you can't say the Rangers aren't fighting and playing good baseball, because they are. Collectively, they are. There's still a few loose ends, situational hitting, some questions to answer. We talked about Josh Young. So there are things that need to be better. The bullpen, could it be better? Probably. And that's not a shot at the bow of Cole Winn or anybody. They didn't have a lot of pitching today available to them after going, with Evaldi only pitching 3 innings Friday. That really kind of put the Rangers in a tough spot coming into today, especially the 2 extra inning games and whatnot. So I tell you, the most pointed words about things were from Josh Smith afterwards. Because I went up to him and said, "Hey, this was a good series, just 3 pretty tight games." And he's like, "We have to figure out a way to win those games." He said, "Good teams win those games. Bad teams figure out a way to lose them." And he said, "We have a lot of season left, so we have time to get things together." But he said we have to figure out how to win those games. And the Rangers had 9 hits. Okay, they left several runners on base. Not as many as the Mariners, but still. And that's kind of where this offense is right now. It's gone from getting only 2 or 3 hits a game to getting, let's say 8 to 12 hits.
Right.
But not getting hits with runners in scoring position.
Right.
And so, that's today they were 2 for 15 with runners in scoring position. So that's below 200. And, that just that's not gonna win you ball games, no matter how good your pitching is.
No, it's definitely not good enough. And they had runners on, the leadoff man on in the 3rd and the 4th. They, with 1 out, they got 2 on in the 5th, both by walks, right? I mean, those are opportunities where you have to. I think in each case there was a steal that got the runners into scoring position. So you've got to get those guys home. And again, especially the way Jack Leiter pitched. And I don't know if Boach commented on it, but I was saying before you came on, Jeff, last time Jack Leiter pitched, his own personal criticism of himself was, I did a good job getting to 2 strikes, but I couldn't put the guys away, right? And he did that. He had a career high 7 strikeouts today. He used a variety of different pitches to achieve the strikeouts. I thought he did a great job. He had to be the highlight of the day for the Rangers.
Yeah, for sure from a pitching perspective. I mean, he didn't walk anybody, and that's just as important as getting these guys, putting them away, and getting some weak contact, finishing off the hitters, the 7 strikeouts. He did do well, and you could argue this might have been his best start of the season outside of the Cincinnati start. It stinks that he ended up giving up the run in his last inning. Yeah, but you can't argue with 1 run in 6 innings. I mean,
no.
And we've said that about 1,000 times this season. So, that is a good step forward. I mean, honestly, these last few starts, it looks like he's had no idea where the ball was going.
Right.
A lot of bad misses. He had a few of those today, but just, he'd throw, let's say, 2 strikes, on the inside, and Jonah would set up there again, and he'd yank it to the other side of the plate. He was better today. No doubt about that. So, at a time when Jake Latz is available, I know he was needed in the bullpen today, and so he had to pitch in relief. But he and Leiter, you theoretically are on the same day. They at least pitched the same day. Mm-hmm. If Leiter had spit the bit today, then maybe Latz would have gotten the next turn in the rotation. I don't know, but it's hard to it's hard to look at these starters and be like, no, we got to get you out of the rotation. They after this last turn through.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And even when Jack wasn't good, like against Pittsburgh, he still kept him in the game. And the bullpen just didn't finish the job behind him.
That's right.
So it's not like he's been non-competitive. He has been competitive, but today was a big step forward on that front.
Yeah, and when you were talking about the bullpen, yesterday after the game, Kumar Rocker said, sort of unprovoked, hey, we have the best defense and the best bullpen in baseball. And, if you look at the numbers, he's actually not the numbers almost bear that out. Again, I think we all know it'd be nice to have that lockdown closer. But when you consider this bullpen and 6 guys who are your primary, relievers who were all with different teams last year, it's done. They've done a really good job.
Well, it's unbelievable, Milner.
Yeah,
it's just shocking.
Yeah,
what he has done. And continues to do. I mean, it's not even like it was just a fun few weeks. He is their, you could say he's their best reliever right now. I mean, he's just fantastic, and it doesn't matter left-hander or right-hander at the plate. He's going to go up there and get him out. Martin had a good bounce back yesterday.
Yep.
Robert Garcia's pitched well his last couple times, and Luke Jackson has pitched well too. I know he gave up a couple there in the 10th today, but he came in the 9th and got out of a spot. But also, that 10th was crazy. They had 3 intentional walks.
Right.
They kept putting runners on base.
Yeah.
I can understand, not wanting to pitch to Cal Raleigh. But then, the runners advanced and they didn't want to pitch to Randy Arozarena. I don't know. I might have pitched to him. Anyway, the point is that a lot of guys in the bullpen are going well. Sean Armstrong's doing fine.
Yeah.
Jacob Webb is doing okay too. So there's not, there's not a glaring like, oh my God, this guy is a weak link. However, I don't think, if it's Game 7 of the World Series, I don't know if you want any of those guys closing it.
No.
So I think that there's still an opportunity for the Rangers to upgrade there if they feel like they're in a position to make the playoffs at the trade deadline.
There is, but there's also the great timing of getting Josh Boers back. Again, He's a guy that has the stuff, or has always had the stuff that would allow it. Of course, we know he closed out the game in 2023, obviously, but he's never really been the full-time closer either. But that's a role I think that many in the organization still believe, he's capable of.
Yeah, he needs to get his velocity up. That continues to not be there. So while he's been throwing live batting practice and all of these things, they're still not ready to send him on a rehab assignment. Now, a rehab assignment, when a guy gets in a game, the adrenaline's going to push his velocity up. Now, I don't know if it's going to push it up the amount that Josh wants or Josh needs, but I think that getting him out and getting him into games would probably do something for him mentally. As it is, he's just going through his work. He's going to throw live. I can't remember what day, but
I think it's Monday. Monday. Yeah,
he's got another one coming up, and if he's got a little more juice behind that heater, they can send him out. What, pitchers have 30 days, I think they can be on rehab. So, you send him out. He gets all of July to rehab, and then if things are going poorly there with, I don't know, a week before the trade deadline, and you're in position, and if you aren't sure if you're going to be able to count on Josh Boers, then maybe you go get somebody with a little more urgency. I don't know. There just seems to be a lot that could happen here in the next month. But the number one thing that has to happen is the Rangers have to win more games.
Yep.
Otherwise, this is all moot.
It is. They can't get over that 500 threshold. They couldn't quite get to it today, and now they would need a sweep of the Baltimore Orioles in order to achieve it in this next upcoming series. We'll talk more about the Orioles. We'll talk more about what's happening around the world of baseball as we continue. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. And the NHL draft, I think, now is officially over as well. Obviously, the NBA draft is too, but our deal continues. Take advantage of it while you can, though. It's not going to last forever. $36 to become a diehard, and you will want to avail yourself to all the things that are being written there, including there's this news that there's a new head coach for the Dallas Stars, or should I say a new old head coach. He's not that old yet. He was a baby when he was here the first time. Glenn Gulletson coming back to the Dallas Stars by all reports and indications from our DLLS Stars crew. And I think it's a really good hire. A lot of the people over in that group do as well. So you'll want to check out their podcast, but you'll also want to see everything Sam has to write about that. You want to check out everything that Jeff writes on the Rangers side of things. And, of course, you want to make sure that you're up to speed on the Cowboys as they head towards training camp and the Mavs with all the Cooper Flag stuff. So all that is to say $36, you've got it, right? You become a diehard, you get all that stuff. We encourage you. Go to alldlls.com/join or scan that QR code on your screen and become a diehard today.
Yeah. John and I were both at the ballpark today, so no merch on our bodies today. But yeah, I'll tell you what, once we get those hats, I'll be able to wear a hat every day. Anyway, the shirts you've heard us say are great. Some of you probably have a couple if you're diehards there in the chat, like our man Leon. You don't have to get Ranger shirts. You can get them. You can get just the DLS shirt, or you can get one for a number of teams, including some college teams. The Wings, if that floats your boat. We've got the kick-ass shirt coming out, the Rangers one, that we're geared up for. We just need it to be released.
Yep.
Anyway, you do all this shopping at store.allcitynetwork.com. That's where you'll pick out your free shirt when you become a diehard, and that's probably where you'll want to pick up a couple more. So store.allcitynetwork.com.
All right, so it's the Baltimore Orioles next. Like I say, seems like we just played them because we did 3 games ago. It's a little bit of a quirk in the schedule because, Jeff, what ends up happening is, and the Orioles have changed up their rotation a little bit, but you easily could end up with the exact same pitching matchups in each game.
Yeah, they did. I don't think they had the off day, though. I think the Rangers did have an off day. Maybe they had an off day, but whatever. They could have manipulated it because they have some injuries in their rotation that they're trying to get themselves through. So it'll be interesting to see what adjustments Jacob deGrom, Patrick Corbin first, what he'll make, and then Trevor Rogers is the guy who shut the Rangers down. And that opener in that
and
series.
that is the same matchup, right? That's exactly as it was.
Yeah, and then it was Morton against Latz,
right?
And so now it's DeGrom against Morton, and then Eovaldi against Tomo Sugano, who came from Japan this last off season. He doesn't strike out a lot of guys, but he's a surefire Hall of Famer in Japan. So he's giving it a shot here. He's a little on the older side. He's pitching on a 1-year deal. But again, he's not going to overpower this team, which in one sense is good because, the Rangers still can struggle with the fastball, but he does throw a lot of, off-speed stuff, splitter and a slider. So Rangers have to watch out for that, and that'll be Nathan Eovaldi's second start off the IL, and maybe he can bump it up to 4 or 5 innings and give the bullpen a little bit of break. But if everything goes right in the first 2 games with Corbin and DeGrom, should have a fresh bullpen plus the day off the next day. So, the Orioles, their bats seem to wake up a little bit against the Rays. Now, they scored 22 the other night.
Yeah.
But I think 6 of those were against a position player. But you can't sneeze at 15 runs. They got shut down pretty well by Drew Rasmussen, who's a hell of a pitcher for the Rays. Didn't see how today's ball game turned out, but their bats might have woken up a little bit. But as we've all seen, the Rangers can cool off some pretty good teams.
This rotation and as we've said, this bullpen really can do that. Looking to see if I can see the score. Orioles win 5-1 today, so they
Okay.
they've won a couple. So anyway, this Rangers rotation certainly, and especially when all you have to say is we've got DeGrom and Eovaldi going, and Patrick Corbin we know is no slouch either, but DeGrom and Eovaldi got to like their chances, and really, I said it in one of the shorts that we put out on some of our social media platforms. You've got to get out there, man. You've got to see Jacob deGrom when he's going like this, Jeff. And he's, I talked at length yesterday in the clubhouse to Jack Leiter about the conversation that he had with deGrom right after the near no hitter the other night. And he just said, even Jack said, even when you play catch with him, the ball comes out of his hand different than everybody else, and when he's got it going, that pinpoint command is just unbelievable. And that's one of the things we encourage fans to go see in person, which you can do Tuesday night at Globe Life Field.
$1 hot dogs, and it's the Jacob deGrom jersey giveaway.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So there's all kinds of stuff going on Wednesday. It'd probably be a good time to go out to the park. I think the Wilsons are headed out that night. So
is that right?
Come join them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So anyway, that's the series against the Orioles, and as we know, the Rangers took 2 out of 3 from the Orioles in this most recent series. So we'll be hopeful that maybe they can do a similar thing when they face them again. A couple of other notes. I saw that Kyle Tucker got a bomb yesterday in a big win for the Cubbies over the Astros, Jeff. So, of course, you always like it. Yesterday would have been a day when the Rangers win and the Astros lose. So those are good days. But I also saw that the Astros did a nice tribute, for Tucker coming back and all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
That's just great. And I've mentioned this before, the term came up from Mike Napoli, sport hate.
Yes.
And he mentioned it in 2011 in spring training after he had been acquired after the Angels traded him away. And it was spring training and they were facing the Angels and he wanted to go out there and shove on them or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess pitchers shove, catchers hit. He wanted to take care of them. And he always seemed to have good numbers against them. Mitch Garver, former Ranger.
How about that? Yeah.
Maybe a little sports hate. So Kyle Tucker, a little sports hate yesterday. It's a real thing. I believe in it. I really do believe in it. I think guys like to stick it to their opposing team or their old team. So, that Kyle Tucker thing is going to be something else. I'd love to see the Raiders get out on that, but I don't.
Boy, yeah, that'd be nice,
wouldn't it? With their budget, that's going to happen.
I know. That'd be nice. And I did see a few people on Twitter hating on Mitch for what they said was hot dogging after the home run. I didn't see that at all. I wasn't there, but I didn't see any real hot dogging, and I don't think he'd do that. I mean, these are all his buddies in the other club. Even if they're sports hate, he still likes all those guys,
Right. And I mean, the second deck home run, all right. I think he kind of gets the right to pimp it a little bit if he wanted to. I mean, of course, he crushed that thing.
He beat it. Oh my gosh, yeah. Then it had to feel so good for him. So to the extent that we've always liked Mitch, that's one of those things you feel good about for him, but certainly not in this case. So that's that. And then speaking more of the Mariners, Cal Raleigh has now officially announced that he too will be in the home run derby. This is going to be really interesting because, again, so often we know that the home run derby, has just a negative effect on the rest of your season relative to slug power and especially to home runs. There's some empirical data that suggests that. So it'll be interesting to see. But Cal's going to have his dad throw to him at the All-Star game in Atlanta during the home run derby, Jeff.
Yeah, and that puts some pressure on the dads that
yes,
aren't necessarily used to that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
I don't know. It'll be a good time, a good family moment for them. And
yeah, it's always fun. It really is a fun aspect. To me, it's really become really one of the most fun things about the All-Star game. What I will also say, the Major League Baseball All-Star game is still the best All-Star game out of all of them.
It's not even close. Yeah,
it's not even close. At least we play the real game as it's meant to be played. One of the heroes of that '79 team, Dave Parker, died yesterday. He got finally into the hall, but he didn't get to experience the weekend and the joy. I hate that.
Yeah, that's the worst part of all of this is that he won't be on stage. I mean, less than a month away, I think it's July 27th. So a month. So it's terrible. I don't know why he didn't get elected by the writers. I know he played a long time. Maybe he didn't finish his career well. I don't know. There's probably some controversy with him because I think he was caught up in some drug stuff. And anyway, and that's kind of the thing I don't like about being a baseball writer is that, or being a voter for the Hall of Fame is, we have to judge. We can judge these guys on their character. And I try not to, and that's why I voted for Curt Schilling. People aren't too keen about his political views at right now. And I think that's what cost him. Of course, the steroid guys, that's different, but it's also a character thing too. I voted for them as well. So I just, I don't like to see this happen when he's so close to the baseball world, appreciating everything he did. I mean, I'm sure there'll be an excellent tribute, and people may now be more interested in him. But God, what a player! What a talent!
That's the thing. And asked Boch about him, and Boch was like, "Oh my God, he was like one of the best 5 players in the game when I played against him." And he said that one time he was catching J.R. Richard, who throws it 100, and he felt like they got inside on Dave Parker with a nice 100-mile-an-hour fastball, and Parker just turned on it and took it out. Like he had glowing things to say about his personal experience with Dave Parker. So Boch couldn't say enough nice things. So that was kind of sad. Speaking of sad too, and we'll run out of time, but Wash is out for the rest of the season. That broke my heart a little bit. And now again, Perry Manazian's comments and everybody is saying, that they're not saying what it is, but like that Wash is going to come back. He's going to be fine. He's going to beat this. He's going to do all the things he needs to do. So that's good to know.
Yeah, and he has it's an option for next season. So it's kind of a tricky spot for him and the Angels. But I texted him once the news broke, and he said, "I'll be as good as new. I'll be back." So he's at least looking forward and planning to beat whatever this is. I don't think it's he didn't tell me either. Just if you look at kind of if you want to connect dots, it sounds like it. When he had the whatever it was in New York, the shortness of breath and things like that. Maybe it's a heart irregularity or something. I don't know. That's just me speculating. It is not. It is not at all anything the Angels or Wash himself have said. But he seems to be pretty upbeat about it, just judging by the text message.
That's great. Glad to hear that. That we will end it with that, because that's good news to end it on a disappointing day for the Rangers. They lose 2 of 3 to the Seattle Mariners, and 3 extra inning games. So 2 of them were 12-inning games that broke your heart, and now they face the Baltimore Orioles. We're back at 1 o'clock tomorrow to bring you our normal daily edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast. We'll see you then.
We all silly like the mayor.